What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Not so happy Tuesday. Given that we only have two slates left, John. What's
At
up,
least two
everybody?
regular season
Happy
slates. We only
Tuesday.
I
have
can't wait for playoff DFS.
I can't wait for playoff DFS either. It's just, obviously this has been a long grind, a long season. It's been fun. These last couple weeks have been very tough with players sitting out, teams getting eliminated, and limiting guys. We don't know who's playing on a nightly basis, and obviously that hasn't changed with just two games left. I do want to, as the basketball fans we are, we're not just DFS fans. Tonight marks the end of not technically the end because we still have tomorrow, but Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki both playing their last home games tonight. If I was wearing a cap, I would give them the old the respect commercial, type of when the Jeter send off. But they've done a lot for the game. They're two of the best players to ever play, and as a fan, it's been a pleasure watching them. I figured, what a better way to open up this segment with a little shout out.
There's still like a minor outside chance that Miami gets the 8th seed.
Right. But they need a lot of help.
They need to win tonight, and they need the Pistons, and I think the Hornets.
And the Hornets, yep. They're tied with Hornets. Yeah, they're tied with the Hornets.
The Pistons have Memphis tonight and the Knicks tomorrow, so they would have to lose both games, and Miami needs to beat Philadelphia tonight. So it's not a lock. Dirk's done. Dirk gone forever, but Wade, for whatever reason, is retiring. The guy's playing maybe some of the best basketball he's played in years. So we don't have to put that candle out yet, but it's the oil is running low. So
right. I mean, he's had knee problems for quite a while, and I don't blame him for leaving. We've said it for a couple slates. Why are you retiring? You have clearly a lot left in the tank. Dirk is clearly toast. He can't even run up and down the floor. Right. I'd be interested in a race between him and Eli. If that was ever a possibility, if they were to do 40s. Yeah. I don't know. I think I'd put my money at this point. I think I'd put my money on Eli, which I thought I'd never say in my whole entire life. But thank you to Dwayne Wade. Thank you for Dirk, for us basketball fans watching you throughout the years. It's been a pleasure. But we do have a DFS slate to talk about, John. A lot of games. Yeah. We're not going to break down the injuries because there are just too many, and not even just injuries. They're just players resting. We would literally take us till 6:30 to break down everyone. And we have a whole playbook worth 40 players to talk about. So why don't we just jump right in, unless you have something to say before we do, John. Let's just jump right in. Let's just jump right in, all right? Because we do have 40 players to talk about it, and, there's always some inception players within players write-ups. Let's start at the point guard position like we always do, where we're going to have Russell Westbrook at the top, who's still playing for something. Kemba Walker still playing for something. The Blazers are still kind of jockeying for playoff position, and Terry Stotts already came out and said they're not resting their guys at all. They're going to play them to the end. I guess those are the three guys you're looking at up at the top. How are you breaking them down for cash for tournaments?
Yeah, so for me, it's going Westbrook, Kemba, and Lillard, just sort of where the price points are there. Again, the thing here with the Thunder is that they're in the playoffs, but they're only a half game up, sitting in that 6th seed. Right. They don't want to lose and fall to the 8th seed and have to open up against the Warriors. So, this is such an important game for them. And it's going to be a really tough competitive matchup because they're up against Houston, who also is locked into a spot, but they're a half game behind Denver for that 2 seed. So they're going to be trying their best to win that game. So you're going to get a really competitive game. 230 game total tonight, second highest on the board, 2.5 point spread. So, Westbrook, he's expensive, but, this is a matchup where I think you get peak potential out of him. The next one, I like Kemba. Again, they're fighting for that potential playoff spot. They need some things to break their way, but they have to win. Lose and they're out. So I'm expecting Kemba. This matchup against Cleveland should be one he should have little trouble taking advantage of. There's no rim protection there in Cleveland. Colin Sexton isn't a great defender, so I'm expecting to go see Kemba just go off. And then you do have Lillard, and again, the thing with Portland, and while they're playing their guys, and they don't really need to try. There's no movement for them. If a game becomes a blowout, they can just tail it back a little bit. It is against the Lakers, so obviously it's a favorable matchup. Alex Caruso is not going to go and shut down Dame Lillard by any stretch of the imagination, but I have him ranked 3rd just in terms of the way I see some of these game theories playing out.
Moving down the list, we have guys like Goran Dragic, who's playing 1,000 minutes per game right
Yeah,
now. Alex Caruso, who is apparently the most athletic player in the NBA. If you've seen some of these dunks that he's been
yeah,
pulling
surprising.
off, and seeing LeBron's reactions to them are pretty funny. We have Colin Sexton. We have Tyus Jones. How are you breaking down the rest of this position, John?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can even throw Terry Rozier in the mix there now. You know, I was worried that maybe Boston would still sort of rest him as well, because they are resting their starting five, and maybe you see a lot more Brad Wanamaker. But there was this report now that even Jaylen Brown, who's starting in the starting lineup tonight, is also going to have his minutes monitored. But there's been no word on Rozier, so I think there's potential that maybe Rozier, gets sort of maybe the bulk of the minutes, either the point guard and shooting guard position tonight, just because there's just zero depth. They signed Jonathan Gibson today, who's going to
Saw that.
actually play for them today. He's expected to make his debut. So for me, looking at that starting lineup and the potential that even Jaylen Brown could be limited, I think Rozier can fit into that, and he might even be one of my favorite mid-tier plays now. Just sort of going on the assumption there. Only $5,200 on DraftKings is a really good number for what we've seen out of Rozier. But as you said, other guys sort of in the mid-tier, you have Alex Caruso. There is Goran Dragic. I like Jamal Marty and GPPs. Alf Payton's been going off again. Like he's got Golden State. So yeah, all those guys are fine. As you mentioned, though, Caruso's just really taking off right now, and I think he's gonna be one of the more popular plays because the Lakers have nothing to play for, and he's gonna play 40 minutes. So
Yeah, and the thing about Rozier, juicy matchup against Washington, who still continues to play Tomas Satoransky
right,
a bunch of minutes. So, like, the matchup against for Rozier is really juicy. Let's move to the shooting guard, where we have James Harden topping the list, per usual, when we do have Houston on the slate, followed by guys like Donovan Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell,
yeah.
DeLon Wright, and I saw CJ McCollum's minutes are going to get up to 30. How are you breaking down, like, this top tier and the second tier below it as well?
Yeah, so Harden's my top overall play today. I was leaning maybe towards Drummond if Blake Griffin didn't play, because it would have been Drummond against like Tyler Zeller and Ivan Rabb, and he would have just absolutely destroyed that Memphis front court. But Griffin playing today, it kind of knocks him down a little bit for me. So go back to Harden as my top overall guy. We've been attacking the Thunder all year long at the shooting guard position. He's averaging over 50 fantasy points, and against the Thunder this year, and this is a game they need to win. And usually those are the games where Harden's just like inbounding the ball to himself, dribbling the ball to the court, and just like doing whatever he wants. So I'm expecting a lot of Harden tonight. Dylan Wright is hilarious. I mean, the price tag on him, it's almost $9K over on FanDuel. But I mean, he's doing everything. He went for like 60-something fantasy points the other day. It's hard to like argue guys. It's at the point of the year where you can't look at the name and look at the price and like, oh, I can't afford to pay him. You have to go with the production. I mean, 55, 65, 45, 3 of the last 4 games here. Yeah, you got to go ahead and throw him in the lineup. This is against Detroit. We love attacking Reggie Jackson, Ish Smith defensively, so Wright's got to be really in that conversation. McCollum, I think, again, is sort of a flyer if you're going to try to game stack against the Lakers. They're just trying to build his minutes up because he's missed so much time. He's going to play 30 tonight. Really good spot against LA, so he's fine. And then, as you said, you have Point Mitchell, but Utah, I don't believe, is really playing for much, right? Like, I think he's sort of locked into their spot there, so maybe they want to play spoiler. We do love Mitchell in that sort of point guard-ish role, as the primary ball handler. But, Joe Ingles continues to rack up assists, so maybe he's not as much as a ball handler as we had previously seen from him in the past, given the way those assist totals are running. But Mitchell's still perfectly fine. We had a question in chat earlier about Luka Doncic. He's expected to play tonight. I worry about that. Dallas has nothing to play for. If anything slightly tugs at him a little bit, or they'll just sit him. There's no reason for them to. So I'm not paying up for him at all. He's completely off for me. And same with Brad Beal. I mean, he's dumped all the way down to 8,500. I know they're still playing a lot of minutes, and it's against Boston backups, but it seems like they're sort of winding him down a little bit as well as the season comes out. So I'm kind of off of Beal, and Doncic is sort of the top 2 guys I'm fading.
Yeah, they've officially come out and said Beal's going to be on a limit tonight.
Yeah.
So,
perfect.
I mean, that sums it up. Like, you don't need to play Bradley Beal. It could be 20. It literally could be 20 minutes or
there's no reason
the first quarter. Yeah, no reason to play him. Moving down the list, Jeremy Lamb, Dwayne Wade, as we mentioned previously. I mean, if you're into narratives, that's obviously the narrative of the night. We have guys like Walt Lemon Jr., who continues to play well. And then Ian Clark, who's up to 6K on FanDuel. Jamal Crawford, the ageless wonder. He's
Yeah.
where are you going in this next tier? Because again, you can't necessarily put price tags to names because 3 months ago these guys weren't even on our radar.
Yeah, it honestly doesn't make any sense. I mean, I remember maybe discussing Ian Clark when like Drew Holiday went down. I'm like, oh, like maybe he'll take some shots, and he was mid price. It's like, oh yeah, flyer only. And here he is now, like 3 straight games, playing like almost 40 minutes, taking all these shots. Yeah, I mean, it feels dirty saying like you have to almost like trust some of those guys because you don't want to. I mean, Walt Lemon Jr. now for like 4 games that he's been in the NBA, it seems like this year he's played well. He's on the Bulls. They don't have anybody else, so like, yeah, throw him in your GBP lineups. Ian Clark, throw him in your GBP lineups. I mean, Jamal Crawford, as I jokingly said to you, like I didn't know he was still like active. I thought like he just went home. The Suns were like, we don't need you anymore. Here he is, back-to-back games, over 40 fantasy points because they shut down Booker and they don't have anybody else. So another GPP play for him. Wade's probably the only cash game, and Lamb's probably cash game viable for me as well. But again, he's playing sort of that mid-20s minutes like he's used to playing, 25, 26, 27. So he's not going to go play 40 for you, but he's at least effective when on the floor.
Let's move to small forward where we have the best player in the NBA. And then Paul George. And I'm talking about Mario Hezonja, who is now officially, I would say, if you're ranking point guards amongst the league, it's probably like 1A Curry, 1B Westbrook, and 1C Hezonja. Is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, I give him kudos for like already talking about how like he wants to be a Knick for life because he knows that like Kyrie and Durant are probably going there. Right. Like, I'll take whatever. He's literally just like, whatever the first phone call comes in, like, I'll sign here. Yeah, who knew, right? Like, when he was with Orlando, like, we'd always play him when he would start, but he never showed, this level of, being able to run an offense. It is a Knicks, so take that for what it's worth. Right. Dennis Smith Jr. is healthy. Why they won't just let him play, who the hell knows? But, yeah, gotta go with Hezonja. Our ownerships do have Paul George as the highest owned player of the slate. You got to at least throw him in there again. We're talking 230 total, and there's enough value tonight where you can get George and Harden in your lineups. I got our example lineups coming out shortly, and George and Harden are in the same lineups tonight. So it can be done and be done on DraftKings too, where typically it's been harder to go 2 stars and build a competent lineup. There's just so much value, so many mid-tier price guys tonight that have crazy upside that you can make it work.
One mid-tier guy that we were just talking about before we got on air was Jakar Sampson. That's one of the aforementioned mid-tier plays. Kevin Knox is another mid-tier play. We have Troy Brown, who is value on FanDuel, mid-tier on DK. How are you breaking down this next tier? I mean, Jakar Sampson has been the real deal in these last couple, like the last week or so.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, this is like the problem with the end of the, and we joked about this pretty much all year long. Like we always hinted that this is what the DFS NBA season comes to at the end of the year, where guys that have literally not played in the NBA all year long are all of a sudden putting up 45 fantasy points. Enter Jakar Sampson, 11 for 17. The other day against Philadelphia, 8 rebounds, 29 actual. He's played 3 games this year. Where's he been? If he's this good, maybe Chicago should have played him. I don't know. But yeah, so he's going against the Knicks. Like, you have to look. The Knicks are so bad. I went on Sirius today and I told them, and I was like laughing while I was saying it. Howard asked me like my favorite stack. I'm like, everybody's probably gonna go with like Houston and OKC. I'm like, I want to get part of this like sloppy garbage Knicks Bulls game tonight where no one's playing defense. It's a bunch of guys you haven't heard about putting up 45 fantasy points at like $6,000 because they're not priced appropriately. So yeah, I actually do have a lot of sort of these Knicks Bulls stacked tonight with a lot of guys that you probably won't have to worry about next year. Guys who have their jerseys on the discount rack, in Marshalls. So
do they even have jerseys in? They're not even going to have jerseys in Marshalls. That's
right. Yeah. So, I don't know. That's fine. I'm going with Troy Brown Jr. I think he's probably the safest of the group. In terms of like maybe reliability. Like, if no Bradley Beal, it's Washington against Boston's backups. I think Troy Brown could have like a really coming up party tonight. But I do love, the other guys you mentioned. Knox, again, a player that I've been frustrated with all season long because he's only scored. He's finally giving you some rebounds. He's giving you a blocker, steal here or there. So he's probably the lowest of them. But again, if I'm stacking, Nick Chicago, he's worth it.
I'm a little worried that the best player in the NBA is going to take some of those rebounds and assists away from him, though. So, that's kind of where we are. Mario Hezonja is the best player in the NBA. Let's move over to power forward, John. Julius Randle sat the other day. We don't know if is he officially going to play. I don't think that has come out yet.
I don't believe I've seen it yet. But if he does, obviously that's what we're looking for. We just got the Anthony Davis out, shocker. So hopefully we're getting the Julius Randle news shortly. I think Towns just got ruled out too. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns ruled out. Gorgie Jang is officially starting in his place.
Yeah, so when we get to center, I do like Dang a lot tonight. He's a pretty cheap option across the board. Power forward center option on DraftKings actually. So
if Randle plays, he's an elite play. We got to think. If he doesn't play, where else are you looking at power forward?
Well, I do like Larry Nance a lot tonight. No Kevin Love.
Julius Randle ruled out officially as of right now.
So now we can go to Christian Wood then, right? Like back to him. Okafor, as you mentioned the other day, went absolutely nuts. I know he's a center across the board, but he's another guy you have to look at. Check Dallow.
You gotta note it now because it's the Julius Randle.
Okafor is a guy to look at. Check Diallo again. Someone to look at. Wood, as we mentioned. Probably Kendrick Williams can be a guy if you want as well. Like all those sort of like middling forwards. They're also playing against Golden State, so it's not like they're gonna have like an elite matchup. But who knows how long Golden State sticks out Cousins and Durant and all those guys. They could be up against Looney and that crew. So who knows? They're fine. The upside is what it is. You can't like predict a Christian Wood like, oh, now that he's out, he's probably going to go for 50. Like, you don't know. He could go for 25.
He is starting, which is nice.
It is nice. I agree. Okafor starting next to him. Williams at small forward. So, again, they're all viable. They're all GPP plays. Like I said, I do like Nance a lot. Power forward tonight. I think he's in a good spot against Charlotte. Daniel Tice is a power forward. We're looking at value. He's not starting tonight. I guess that's a little bit of a surprise for me. I thought maybe he would get the start over like a Gershon Yabusele, but Yabusele is the one starting. They don't have anybody else though. So I still think Tice is going to play 25 plus minutes off the bench. Robert Williams is incredibly foul happy, and he's been injured a lot lately. So his back could go, and next Tice has to go ahead and play the minutes. So I'm still in on Tice. He's only $3,200 on DraftKings, and we actually have him as the highest based off our most recent projections on the day. He was the best value on the board tonight over on the slate, so giving you almost 8x return. So I'm expecting high ownership as well there.
What do you think of Gershon since he's starting? Do you have any interest there?
I don't know. The thing is, I can never grasp on what kind of player Gershon Yabusele is. He was a first-round pick for us 4 years ago maybe. He played over in Europe, played in Japan. I don't know what to make of him. I really have no idea. I don't know. He takes the outside shot, but he's not a good outside shooter. He's got a big body. He should be able to rebound well. But he's just never in control. Whenever I see him on the floor, he's just always sort of falling over himself. So, this could be a night where he goes for 60, and I'm sitting here okay, but I'm not really on him. I'd rather guys I have a little bit more confidence about, and Tice is certainly that guy.
Rounding out your power forward position, you have guys like Josh Jackson, Bam Adebayo, Larry Nance, Ivan Rabb, Dario Saric with no Karl Anthony Towns. Do you have maybe a favorite of that group? They're all priced pretty similarly, except Josh Jackson, who's $8,100 over on FanDuel.
Yeah, I don't want to pay $8,100 for Jackson, but we're talking about, there's one of the few scorers that are on that team, It's funny that you see Crawford going for 50 because Jackson should probably be the guy that are taking all those shots and scoring. But I do like Bam. Again, I think this is a spot for him where there's no Joel Embiid tonight. He's starting at center still. Miami has to win. They're at home. So I think Bam is in a good spot. Frank Kaminsky, 3 straight games now, 30-plus minutes, 30-plus fantasy points. You can go to him. Sarge, as you mentioned, there's no Tyler Gibson, no Karl Anthony Towns. They just took Gorgie Dang and they put him in the starting lineup, so there's like less front court depth there as well. So Sarge is fine. Yeah, I mean, again, as you go down, there's just sort of a list of guys that sort of they all mesh into one another to me. I'm not really in on Rab. Drummond's probably going to beat him up. I just kind of threw him out there because the minutes were there. But he's not a guy I'm too interested in.
Let's finish it up at center, John, where your top two plays, I think, probably have changed a little bit considering Blake Griffin is playing.
Yeah.
You have Jokic, you have Drummond at the top, but you're probably a little less interested in Drummond. I mean, we could still be interested in him, but 10-2 is not cheap.
No, it's not, and I definitely liked him more with the idea that Blake wasn't going to play. We saw Griffin play the other day and have like an absolute monster night against OKC, went for 66 fantasy points. Followed up against a disappointing matchup against Charlotte, a spot where I feel like I've used him this year thinking he was going to crush, and he didn't. I'm still okay with using Drummond because he's just been very consistent. Like, that OKC game I think was more of an outlier. But he went for 52 with Drummond playing against Charlotte the other day. So while I don't think with him playing we're going to see like 70-point Drummond, mid-50s is probably still there. I do like Jokic a lot tonight at the top. Again, a game they need to win. He's had success against Utah this year. It hasn't really been a problem for him going up against Gobert. So if we're spending out, those two guys are fine. I do like that mid-tier a little bit better, though. As we go down, I mentioned Mitchell Robinson, Thomas Bryant, Enes Kanter. All those plays are guys I'm looking at tonight. I love Mitchell Robinson. Talked about him all year long, averaging a double-double and 3 blocks over the last 5 games. Get Chicago, who are one of the worst teams against centers all year long. Robinson works for me. Thomas Bryant, again, finally put him back in the lineup. He's done nothing but produce for them. Gets a Boston team. No Horford, no Baines. I mentioned, that Robert Williams there, great shot blocker, but he's young. So he's always just seeking the shot block, and he jumps a lot on up fakes and he fouls a lot. So I think Bryant should be able to sort of take advantage of that over aggressiveness at times. And if something happens to him, then they have to go in and throw, an undersized Tice, or even Yabusele could have to play center at points tonight. So I think Bryant's going to be in a really, really good spot. And then you have Kanter against the Lakers. JaVale McGee starting there, not a great defender. We know Kanter put up 48 fantasy points in that first matchup against them, so he's fine. And then McGee, GPP play for him because he keeps on producing.
Yep.
The Lakers suck, so it makes sense for JaVale McGee to be, a good player right now. So, and he gets that Kanter defense, which you can tear apart. So McGee, GPP is fine. Kanter and GPPs, and I like Bryant probably more as a cash game in that mid tier.
You got 3 value centers tonight, John. You got Salah Mejri, Gorgie Jang, and Robert Williams. Any cash viable? I mean, probably Jang, right? Yeah. Now that and the other 2 maybe just tournaments?
Yeah, the other 2 would be tournaments. Okafor is a tournament play, and I would throw Muscala in there as a tournament play as well. He's been playing a lot of minutes for the Lakers of late. 26, 24, and 38 minutes against Utah. 3 of the last 4 games, or 4 of the last 5, has gone over 20 fantasy points for Muscala. But yeah, Salas, Muscala, all those guys, GPPs. Dang's probably the only cash game guy I'd look at there.
Any love for Tyler Zeller? I threw him in my starting 5 video today.
I mean, they need bodies, so he played 26 minutes the other night, but he is going against Drummond, so I'm not really...
Right, which is obviously a scary proposition. He's just free. He's $100 off mid-salary. And
yeah, I mean, he's a guy that's going to play minutes. This is the time of year where you take shots on those players, so yeah, that's fine.
Anything else, or are you ready to get out of here?
I would say play late tonight. Again, don't overinvest because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what teams are going to sit guys, what blowout's going to happen. If you're going to invest heavily tonight, invest in those teams that are playing for something that are, have reasons to play their starters, or, go the complete opposite direction and play the Knicks and Bulls, who have absolutely out of it. They've already showed their hand who's going to be playing the minutes. Don't want to play teams where there's some ambiguity as to who's going to do what. So invest your money smartly.
Yes, invest it and go check out the MLB content and play more over there too.
Before we go, we do have a read that I didn't do at the top of the show, so I'm going to do it now. We'll close it out.
It works. 6:28, baby. We're still gonna get out of here on time.
We got 2 minutes, so we're gonna get it in because you talked about the MLB season, and the MLB season has begun, and we have been busy. I don't know if you've noticed, we're pumping out all of the content every day for the MLB season, and we're already raking in the dough in DFS and keeping our seasonal teams on course for a championship. With the MLB Playbook Pro, you get analysis, customizable tools, playbooks, example lineups, ownership percentages, and a lineup generator that uses actual analysis instead of just a computer-generated algorithm. For seasonal players, you get a new league sync that allows you to sync your fantasy teams directly to the website. Go to fantasylineup.com/MLB season, save instantly, get $200 package for just $75 and win the whole season. That's fantasylineup.com/MLB season and see the green in your fantasy baseball contests.
John, Jared Bayless was just ruled out. I know that moves the needle a lot for you tonight.
What team is he on these days? He's still on the T-Wolves?
He is still on the T-Wolves. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys tomorrow for the last live stream of the year. We'll see you guys in the winner's circle tonight.